Okay, I think we figured everything out. Are we good? Yes. Can you hear me on Teams? Thumbs up if you hear me. Yeah, okay. All right, awesome, thank you. Well, welcome friends on Teams, and welcome to our workshop in person also. Thanks for coming to our grant workshop. And the bathrooms are around to the left down the hallway, and there's water back there. And without further ado, your turn.
Can everybody hear me okay? Teams?
I'm getting a lot of echo.
See, that's why, because this is hooked up to this. We need it.
Ben, are you hearing echo?
Can you
Yes.
shut yours?
I am muted. I'm being picked up by the owl. Sorry, we're having problems.
Okay. How's that sound now?
There's still echo.
Still a big.
How about now?
Still echo.
Is he sponsoring there? Let's see.
It's a real battle.
Can you hear it now? Is there an echo?
There's still an echo, Ben?
Yeah.
No question.
Christy, can you hear me? Okay, I think that there's a few guests that are not muted, and we're picking up an echo from there. So if everybody who's a guest could mute, I think that would resolve it.
I can even, I think, mute all.
She's got power.
Now I can't find it.
Now are we good?
Now are we good, Ben?
She can mute us also, by the way.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to mute all of that. I'm just going to leave it alone.
Okay.
All right. So with that being in mind, I'm going to be managing the chat. So if you have questions or you want to raise your hand, we want you to get those needs met. So just go ahead and put it in the chat or raise your hand, and then you can unmute yourself. So glad we took care of that. Nina, go ahead. Back to Nina.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Nina Syme. I'm the Finance and Community Investment Manager for United Way. I have been working with United Way for over 5 years, and doing the grant cycle and managing all those programs is a really great thing for me to do. It gets me out of counting my beans, and so I really appreciate that, like, diversity, and it lets me see another side of what we do besides just taking in the donations. And so I wanted to say that I'm really appreciative that Bob is here with me to talk about some of the more overarching pieces to the grant writing, and so I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hey everybody, good morning. Bob Moore. I am officially retired, so I'm not sure why I'm here. No, I actually 2 years ago I was involved in helping to create the grant workshop, and then we had this thing called COVID that disrupted everything in our lives. So it ended up being online, and then this year I was invited to come and actually do the workshop presentation with you all. What I want to share is just the simple perspective. My career was in health and human services, mostly here in Yavapai County for 30 years, working mostly with nonprofits. I also had a 10-year stint with county government, long-term care, and in public health. So I've been in the community for a long time and engaged in a lot of different nonprofit organizations. And so hopefully that's the perspective that I'll offer you in terms of insights that based on the experience that I've had, that hopefully will be helpful. Specifically, we'll also be looking at the specific grant process for United Way. So we'll get engaged more specifically in that, but that's where Nina and Christy are going to be your assets in terms of continuing questions you might have.
Mm-hmm. And so before we get into the objectives on this workshop, I wanted to just communicate that we understand that a good number of the registrants, the attendees for this workshop are here because we've made it a requirement. If you've been invited to the application phase of the United Way grant cycle, our board and our grant review committee had suggested that we have this workshop, and that it is a requirement. And we also know that there's people that are here today that are just part of the community, and they're not applicants for this workshop, and that we feel like you're going to get a lot of good information out of it just regarding grant writing in general, but that there are going to be components that we're going to talk about that are very focused on the United Way of Yavapai County grant process. So, but we hold one every year, so it's good to know. And I'll let Bob go ahead and get into the objectives.
So I'm going to go through these one at a time, and this is the framework that hopefully will be guiding our discussion today. If you have questions, initially what I would suggest is write them down and hold them for afterwards, because as we progress through the slide presentation, we may cover material that you have questions about. So bear in mind that if you have questions, keep track of them, and we may open it up. Well, we would definitely open it up at the end. If there are specific relevant questions along the way, we may be able to take some of those. But again, track them for yourselves so that when we do open it up, you have them ready. So understanding the United Way grant process, hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory as we go through this workshop today. Understanding United Way expectations. This is where philosophically I'll be talking a little bit about the idea of partnering and the importance of building capacity. And those are elements that United Way really wants to encourage and invite creative responses to the challenges that we face in this day and age. Understanding the importance of needs assessment. Why are we doing what we're doing is the fundamental question. And if you haven't been able to successfully answer that question, then that's where I would highly recommend you dig in a little deeper and figure out exactly what will support your goals in applying for funding. And then understanding reporting requirements. Nina will dive into that in terms of data requirements as well as program development, which I'll touch on a little bit at different phases as well. Okay.
Okay, so just a little breakdown of our process. So this is the 22-23 community impact funding cycle, and back in March we had opened up our letter of intent and then had that open for a couple weeks, went through that, and then invited the applicants that we wanted to have move on to the application phase, and that opened last Monday on the 11th, and it closes on May 8th. And so after people submit their application, we will have site visits that'll be conducted by groups of our grant review committee volunteers. And so that will be scheduled, and there's going to be emails that'll go out to the applicants regarding that and getting that all squared away. Yeah. And so we've got our EC Impact logo. Anybody that's in the application phase is very familiar with EC Impact, like it or not. That's our platform, and we've tried to make it as like intuitive and user-friendly as possible. And but I think most of you that have been are in the current funding cycle or have started on this one, myself and Christy have tried to be extremely helpful whenever anybody needs, whether it's like technical questions or even like some other questions regarding a question that may be in the form or just like navigating the site and things like that. So, but EC Impact is it's a great thing because it's web-based, so you can access it pretty easily. And that's about all I have to say about EC Impact right now.
Yeah, if you have questions, I think the big thing that I want to stress is not just today, but in follow-up, it's like Nina and Christy have made it clear. It's like you can call and ask questions. So please make sure that you get your concerns addressed directly, as opposed to sitting on it or seeing if you can figure it out yourself. Hopefully,
can I add to that
yeah, go
for
ahead.
a second? Because one thing that I always try to put out there to the applicants is you have a month to work on your application. Please take that whole month. Take your time and don't run through it too quickly, because we are looking for the application to be clear and concise, but also answering all the questions. I mean, I know that sounds basic, but it's super important, and I wouldn't want any applicant to be suffering in silence trying to figure something out, and when they can just pick up the phone or email one of us and we can try to help you through whatever it is that you're dealing with.
So as we look at the basics, hopefully this is all pretty self-explanatory. You need to be serving Yavapai County, and you need to be a nonprofit or an educational institution in order to apply. If you've received your invitation to submit a full proposal, then the chances are you've already crossed that threshold to the degree that United Way you've demonstrated to United Way that you will meet those criteria. But again, those are the basics of beginning the process of the United Way application here in Yavapai.
So we look for programs filling gaps in services that have a plan for sustainability and maximize their use of funds. These are three big criteria that we are looking at. And just a little one-on-one, United Way, the way we're able to host these workshops is we conduct workplace giving campaigns where we raise funds with local businesses, larger corporations. So the generosity of others is how we get the funds to do what we need to do to support all of you. And so we take our position as stewards of these donations very seriously, because it's other people's money, to break it down in the simplest terms. And we need to honor their donations, and we need to make sure that the money is going towards programs that are going to have the greatest impact on the community. And so that's why these criteria are super important for us.
That being said, United Way has a long history globally, nationally, and locally. My own history actually goes back 1985, I think is about the time United Way of Yavapai County was established.
87.
I happened to be running Turning Point Youth Shelter at the time and was one of the original United Way funded agencies. And so I've had some perspective on United Way as it's grown and changed over the years. And in particular, the last couple of years, I think the focus has become pretty clear. And this should be pretty familiar to you. And if you have already submitted that letter of intent, which is again part of the reason why most of you are here, is you're fitting one of these criteria in terms of targeting services in the community, whether that be education, income, assisting people with income supports, and health. which also can tie to other things. And that's the other piece of this, is there may be examples where there's crossover between programs that you may be actively involved. And if that's the case, if you have the opportunity to really collaborate with other organizations, again, one of those elements that I would invite you to really explore wherever possible. So we're going to take, let me frame this a little bit. We're going to take a few minutes and actually watch the Simon Sinek video. How many of you are familiar with Simon Sinek in this?
Love this guy.
Okay, so not everyone has necessarily seen it, and if you have seen it, I would say it's worth a watch, first of all. I have the book also, if anybody's interested in glancing around. Actually, I'll just pass it around for now while we're watching the video as well. So depending on your approach, if you like videos or if you like a text, that's really kind of your call. Starting the video, Hannah, Nina, you got it?
I'm gonna try.
Hopefully there's a link at the bottom of the page. The next technical test.
Okay.
Or are you just gonna look at me?
Do you like the video so far?
Yeah, it's great.
It's the link, hold on.
Sounds like you're having a great trip.
Is this to his TED Talk?
Yeah.
What is it doing now?
You right click on the slide.
On the slide?
Yeah, just on the slide.
Ben, doesn't this remind you of our Verde Valley workshop? He said yes.
Hold on a second here.
It was.
Oh,
No, that's the Verde Valley.
Yeah.
We did good
I
in
don't know
Spot City.
why. Hold on
You
a
wouldn't,
second.
you wouldn't, anything that went wrong, anything in
Maybe
yeah.
escape out of the presentation and then hit.
I could write a blog on it.
Here comes.
So Hannah, you can't leave now.
Should I stop? You want to stop?
I know.
Start with one. Oh, okay, there it is. Yeah. No, it's the longer one.
When you didn't tell me, I saw that picture. How did that
But yeah, no, I love it. And then we could circle around.
That's very good.
And then we could just send the link out.
Yeah, that's right. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I don't know why that's not. Here, hold on.
Copy that.
And he got it, and I was like, they brought it.
You guys.
That's actually related, that
Yeah.
is true.
If you haven't seen it, you should watch it, it's terrible.
Oh, no, I'm not.
It's awful.
I dread it.
It's terrible.
You're sharing.
So we're,
And where did the presentation go?
nothing, you don't see anything up there. So like, you just had somebody join us, and so I have to keep writing the same thing, I don't know if it's in that.
Now it's not showing up. I don't know why nothing is showing up on there.
So like if you give some sort of instruction on the chat room,
You won't be able to see it.
if you come here.
No, it's on there.
Yeah, but you're not, yeah, I don't know if there's always just that one time.
Oh, it changed red.
I don't know why it comes up to that. Why is it showing there? I don't know.
So if you guys want to, he is, as soon as his book circled back around,
That's all right, I'll come. So,
he can just summarize.
depending on what we're focused on, Simon Sinek, many of you are familiar with him, is a executive consultant, a leadership consultant. This was, I think, maybe 10, 15 years ago is when he talked about this whole focus, and it was really on corporations that are, what's the purpose? And my reframe of the whole idea of start with why fits right into nonprofit organizational structure, because we as organizations have a mission. That mission is generally our why. United Way's why is a little bit different because we're distributing funding. We're allocating resources to help respond to needs. And the why is what drives us. And that's what is so critical in organizations. And the reason we wanted to refer to Simon Sinek and this whole philosophy is that we oftentimes lose sight of what really matters and what our true purpose is within the organizations that we're serving. And what is our focus in terms of community work that we do. And starting with why is a continual reminder that allows us to focus more on that purpose. Why are we doing what we're doing? And hopefully that will help us come together in ways that, again, take on creative solutions to things that we may be dealing with, or look at things from a different perspective. Again, why do we do what we do is a fundamental question we should be asking ourselves along the way. Questions, comments about that?
You're almost as good as Simon.
Oh, thank you. I'll take that. Thank you very much.
That's nice, Kevin.
That was very nice. Okay, so moving on from that, and Christy, you said you'll send the video link
Yes, I
out
will send the
so that you can all take a look at it for yourselves. Again, very eloquent story that he will talk about in terms of how you can shift that focus in your organization.
Well, I can feel Hannah is like determined to figure out how to make this.
No, I
this
think,
video.
I don't know if the Teams people can see this now.
I think they can now.
Now they can?
Mhm.
You wanna verify that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing it.
But is that the PowerPoint desktop or is that this presentation?
This is the power.
Ben, can you see the slide? Yes. Okay.
Okay, awesome. All right, so again, this grant basic slide is hopefully nothing unfamiliar, but if it is, again, I invite you to dive into any one of these topics and really use it in helping you frame the proposal that you're going to submit. If you've done proposals before, you've got the advantage of having that experience. If you've not done them, follow the framework that United Way provides for you. Nina already mentioned, use the time that you have, draft things and edit it and redraft it, and use the basics of first guideline in any kind of grant proposal. Read the directions. and read them thoroughly. Thank you very much. Because you never know. A lot of proposals get rejected because they didn't follow the guideline of the appropriate font size and the margins for the page. Federal grants, I can tell you, get very sophisticated in terms of formatting, let alone the materials that you're actually engaged with. Be clear and concise. So this is on you to look at, what are you trying to do? What are you intending to do? Are you distributing food to a needy population? Are you providing aftercare services? And what is the impact of those services on the constituency that you're serving? Think through exactly all the different elements that make sense for what you're trying to accomplish in the community, because we all know you are serving the community, and that's essential. Yavapai is in one of those parts of the state and the country where it's like local governments don't necessarily invest a lot of resources to support human services. So we depend on the private sector to support the services that we often need to provide in the community. Use the time, we've already covered that. Answer questions fully. That doesn't mean long-winded responses necessarily, because if you're repeating yourself about the same issues over and over again, two things. One, you're wasting space because you don't have a lot of space in the grant proposal. It's predefined how much you need to write in terms of, length of the section. So be aware of that and utilize the various sections to complement the different things that you want to make sure the United Way committee is going to understand about what you're doing. And then call or email for help.
And I will speak to one thing that Bob said about being clear and concise. Not getting.
I knew it was coming up, but I couldn't remember where. Oh.
If you're on Teams, please mute yourself.
I will make a note.
So being clear and concise, and what's great about this new process that we have where we are going to be doing, the review committee is going to be going out for site visits, is that that's also going to give your agency an opportunity. You're going to have a captive audience of that group of grant review committee volunteers.
Shit.
Lost sound.
Christy, I don't know if you can hear me, but we cannot hear you.
Okay.
Can you
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So they need to mute on their side.
Yes, they need to mute on their side.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone muted?
Linda and Joan, do you have questions? One of the things he recommended was to wait till the end because we might cover something. Are you good with that? Because I have your hands up. So hold your questions and we'll get to those.
I held my hand up to let you know that we could not hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, okay.
So
All right.
I'll just re-say.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I bet you guys are all like, good thing this is a free workshop. I didn't have to pay for this. But
it's not the content, it's technology.
Full disclosure, this is like the first workshop we've done with Microsoft Teams. We've been using Zoom, but we've switched to Teams, and so there's.
And we thought we had it figured out.
So, but what I was reiterating that Bob talked about was the be clear and concise bullet point on here is that with the new grant review process that we're doing, and we're having groups of review volunteers go out and do site visits with the applicant agencies, it's just another opportunity for you to have a captive audience and maybe say some things that you didn't put in your application. And then also in the application, you'll see there's a section where you can add additional documents to it. So that's super helpful also, because it is, like Bob said, having like a long-winded answer and maybe repeating yourself, you don't want it to convey a message that you're not really clear on your idea. So that is another reason why it's super important to be concise.
Okay, we're going to dig in a little bit deeper, assuming I can get the slide to change. Boy, it's one glitch after another. Okay, we'll do this. Wait, wow. One thing after another.
I know. I'm thinking Zoom was looking good now.
Okay, we'll see if that.
You want me to try? There we go. It's good. I just changed it.
Okay. Thank you. So what's your market? This is really fundamentally about demographics. Who are you serving? Who are you looking to serve with this project that you're submitting for United Way funding? And then diving into who within that market is the niche that you're serving. Are you serving elderly? Are you serving children? What are the issues that they're facing that you're responding to? And some of this is basic marketing approach, and think about it in the context of justifying your program for funding from the United Way of Yavapai County. How do you track your progress? Now this fits in very closely aligned with the data that you need to submit to United Way. So how are you going to measure the impact that you're having on the population that you're serving? What does that look like? What kind of data will you collect? Are you doing surveys before and after to measure that there's a change in somebody's actions? Those are the kinds of things you want to delve into to make sure that you're providing a framework that makes sense for evaluating the program that you're going to be providing with United Way funds. And then what assessments will measure your impact? So what kind of data are you going to use to determine the level of impact that you're having on whatever population we're serving? Okay. You have a budget. So this example is from a Arizona Community Foundation workshop I went to a couple years ago, actually. And it looked basic enough that it was like, okay, identify the elements of your budget. What kind of staff are you hiring to do this, or who's being paid to do the project? What are the costs? Are you buying equipment? Is there something that's an ongoing expense in terms of, are there membership fees, for example, that you need to have? All the different elements that fit into your project budget. You know, you're submitting to United Way to support a specific project, not the entire agency. United Way doesn't have the resources to support all the agencies in Yavapai County that need the support. So it's very much project focused. And then measure the elements of how much each of those items cost to make sure that it fits.
Just a quick question.
Yeah,
is this slide available? Can we access this somehow? Just as.
Are you sending the PowerPoints?
If you want me to, we can.
Yeah, I don't
have an issue with that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Easily available.
That's really, that's so concise and good it's a good skeleton.
So I wanted to have my finance manager hat on for a second, and if you don't already do this, this is a really good accounting tip that goes along with your program budget. Is if you use QuickBooks for all of your accounting purposes with your organization, if you don't already do it, utilize the class list on there and create a class for what you're doing, because you're gonna have basic expenses that are gonna cross over multiple areas of your organization. And I may be preaching to the choir or something that you're like, duh, I already know this, but I just want to put it out there that if you create a class for this program that you're going to do and log that with each income and expense that you have with it, then you can pull a great P&L every month or whenever you need to, and have a really good idea of how your program is performing, or like the money side of it and the expenses versus the income. So I'm also available to, like, if you have any like basic account, like really basic accounting, like as far as that, so.
I think you're on a roll now, Nina.
Oh, what, I'm next, I keep going, okay, so, so this is for if you're moving on and you do get awarded the funds, and the other part of the United Way funding cycle process is we do require mid-year reporting. Many of you that are in the current cycle that we have right now are familiar with this. So 6 months in, you will have a mid-year report, and what that does, and this is good to keep mindful when you're doing your application, is the data that you put in your application will automatically roll over into your 6-month report. So that's, so just to know that. and so that's in there, and then you have an opportunity to report and speak to that. And then we also either do like a follow-up, like over the phone or virtually, or we might do a site visit after reviewing the mid-year report, because sometimes people are having a hard time and they need to shift gears, and we're here to support you with that. And I kind of go into that, I think, a little bit later. But then there's also final reporting, which after the 4th allocation goes out, it's towards the end of your entire like 12-month cycle of the program. So there is a final reporting, and it's really important to do the reporting because it's giving you all a good look at what you're doing, but it's helpful for us. And one of the biggest like things I have to stress is as partners, because you do partner programs with us, is that we want to have a really strong line of communication. As soon as you're having a hard time, or even if you want to celebrate an achievement, like, we want to hear about it, and especially if you're having difficulties, because that's how we can support you and we can shift gears and like help you with that, so that's super important, because it's like any relationship, you have to have good communication. And then
Well, I'm going to move on to the next one because it's kind of a follow-up with the same information in a different way. But I want to just interject, the whole notion of communication is essential. That if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you're struggling with a concept, find somebody that you can talk to. And obviously United Way is giving you the message. It's like, call us, work with us, make sure, like, if you start a project and suddenly everything changes, that's happened in the last couple of years for people across the board, right? Things have changed and we're scrambling to try and figure out what do we do next. A simple phone call can start that process. So don't hesitate to communicate. And that's the core, is communication to make sure that you are successful with your project.
Mm-hmm. So what are we doing? Why do we do it? So tracking the progress and
We're on the wrong slide.
Huh? Oh, we're
Something
on
happens to the slide.
Oh.
Okay.
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 So tracking progress, collecting data, and support for your success. So we already talked about the basics in the mid-year and the final reporting, but like it says on the slide, they're not just valuable tracking tools for us. They are a great way for your agencies to monitor the progress of your program. You can see where things are going right, maybe things need to be adjusted a little bit, and you can see, you might have an idea and it's got a couple different components, and then you're like, well, this really isn't gaining any traction, but this is really taking off even more than we anticipated. Or, there's things that happen, especially if you're doing a new program. I mean, a lot of times we do fund programs that are expansions of existing programs, but sometimes you're piloting something new. And so it's hard to anticipate how that's gonna go. So when you're tracking this progress and you're collecting your data, it's just a great way for you to see how everything is going in what you're trying to accomplish. And
So I have a question on the chat.
uh-huh.
Jean, your question is, where do small family private foundations fit in the categories?
Under foundations.
Yeah, I believe in the application there might be, I don't know if there's a miscellaneous.
There's a line for foundations.
Yeah.
Okay.
You stick it in there.
Yeah.
Becky says there's a line for foundations, so hopefully that answers your question.
I hope that's true. I think it is.
Or there's a blank one, and Jean, if you don't find that, give Nina or I a call.
Yeah, and if I've got it, and that's the other like great thing about EC Impact is that Christy or I can get on through the administrative side, so we can actually get into your application with you on the phone and see what you're seeing and like look at different aspects of it. And so we can virtually hold your hand through several parts of it. So, but I can't exactly speak to her question directly at this moment.
Yeah.
Because it's not in front of my face right now, so. But, so this is, support for success, just reiterating that is just, that is like our main goal, is that we want to support you in what you're doing. Above and beyond everything else is that that's what we want. And if that means shifting gears, if that means like changing certain tactics if needed, you know, then that's what we do. I don't think so.
So Christy, you want to talk about the United Way capacity building?
Sure. So you all were invited to come here so that we can strengthen your organization. That's what we do with the Center of Organizational Excellence. Some of you have attended other workshops, and I invite you to do that. You'll see on our website, you'll see one in front of you, that one that's coming up. And we really do this to strengthen your organization from the inside out. That's what we're about. We're not, we're different grantees we're a different organization that we want to support you as grant writers and what you do in your organization. So like Nina and Bob have said over and over again, you know, we really are here to serve you, so.
Is the date wrong on this because it says February 3rd?
Just for a second, I was like, wait, is that coming up?
Right?
Yes, that date is wrong.
Because you missed it, sorry.
It's May, isn't it?
It's May 3rd, correct?
Yeah.
May 5th, okay. All right,
Good catch.
thank you.
Okay, so I think we're just about ready to go into questions, but you want to review the final requirements, Nina?
Yeah, and I do want to
Back to support first.
back to support for success for a second, because Chrissy touched on the Center for Nonprofit Excellence, but I also wanted to talk about the final bullet point on there, with serving as a conduit for volunteers, projects, and collaborations. And so a couple other ways that United Way works with our partner programs, and is that we do want to serve as a conduit for volunteers. We do have people call us up and say, I want to volunteer, what can I do? And because we don't necessarily have projects that need volunteers, but we've got all of our partner agencies that you all are constantly like needing volunteers to do the things that you do. And so we can connect, you know, we can be that connector for you. And another thing with the projects, we're just getting started on doing our United Way worldwide has a day of action, or some people call it a day of caring. It's on June 21st. And we are going to be doing that this year. And the basic concept of it is that we get people from the community just individuals, or we get some of the group of people from workplace giving companies that we have that are partnered up with us, and pair them up with one of our partner agencies that have a special project that they want to do. And on that day, it could be landscaping a part of their property. It could be deep cleaning a kitchen or painting, or, I mean, stuffing envelopes for something that you're mailing out, or we've stuffed backpacks, and we've done all kinds of different things, but that's a really great experience because it gets our donors to be able to see firsthand what the agencies that they're supporting are doing. And so we'll be sending out more information on that shortly. And collaborations are just, I don't know, what would you say with the collaborations?
Well, I think we collaborate in a way, I mean, I don't know if this is what you're meaning, but we have collaborated agencies to serve each other.
Yeah.
Or to work on a project together.
Well, and your collective impact groups that we facilitate, and also we have our annual event each year, and all the agencies are invited to that, and that's an opportunity to spotlight what you guys do and how hard you work to make the community a better place. So that's another area. And then so I'll just recap with talking about the requirements for funding approval. The big obvious one is that you need to turn your application in on time. And so that's May 8th. And we will be sending out probably at least one reminder email letting you know that the deadline's coming up, and we really need it has to be in on that day. And then once the review process starts with the grant committee, then we will be setting up site visits. And so we'll be contacting you about that, and that does need to happen, and it's one of the other requirements for this. And then when you're awarded, we will be sending out an MOU that has a whole bunch of understandings on it, and a representative of your organization needs to sign that. We sign it, and that's like our agreement document. And so those are the three big requirements. And
That's it?
yeah,
So contact information is up here in terms of emails for Nina and Christy. But now it's like opening it up to questions that people have, whether you get them through the chat or if any of you have questions here in person.
I would ask anybody in the chat to check in and with your name and your organization. That gets you credit through United Way for this requirement. So I would say that. Haven't had any questions. Jill earlier said that you could do a TED Talk.
Okay, thanks.
So you can do a TED
Okay, I'll prepare one for a little later.
Awesome.
Question.
I'm just curious about the process for how someone becomes a grant review volunteer. Sorry, the committee that goes around and do the site visits. How do you choose those people? What do they do?
So when we did this, we were looking for various, employee giving. We have someone with the city. So we're kind of looking at that. Our choosing process is not really too entailed right now. It's really just let's get involved, but we won't if you're applying for a grant, someone closely to that can't be on the review process. So a few people that are on this Zoom, showed interest, and we can't do that. Some individuals in the room were interested, and that's the one thing we can't do.
And Christy, you said before it'll include staff, board members.
It's just too much of a conflict of interest.
Yeah, understood. I was just curious how that works. And is it the same group that goes to?
No, so when we visit, Nina and I and a board member are going to take our grant review committee and create subcommittees, and then they will get a handful of organizations. So when you get a visit, it'll be either Nina's group, my group, Hannah's group, or a board member's group.
I think that's really cool. Thing.
Yeah. Nina kind of amped that up this year, and I've been able to be a part of the process, but last year it was everybody on the committee read and scored everybody, and so it was pretty,
It was a lot.
It was daunting. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot.
Well, and what's really good about breaking it out like that and just having, oh, these 5 people are reviewing these 5 applications, it just gives you an opportunity to take your time and like really like dive into each one of them, and then to have that ability to go do a site visit or to talk to them virtually, it just makes it that much better. So.
Did that answer your question? Go ahead, Becky.
I have a question either for you guys or maybe somebody in the room, but we're about to change the way we have kept track of our individuals. So we've served 120 people over the course of a couple of years, but now we're quadrupling that, and I can't keep that in Excel. So right now I'm in Excel, 120 people and demographics, blah, blah, blah. We need to switch to a different system. So I don't know if you guys work with a demographic system or a people tracking software that you already like, or somebody in here who, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You're trying to track 500 people and.
Ben, did you hear her? Because he does a lot of tracking. Do you have a demographics?
We use HMIS.
Can she use?
Do you like?
You can email them and see. We don't get any funding from them either, but so I use it mostly for tracking.
So you put your people into HMIS, and that's very helpful for you.
Yeah,
that's
for several reasons.
Yeah.
And does that cost?
But then again, I ask them for free licenses. But just know getting into that, it's very entailed on what they're gonna want like you to do.
Yeah.
But that's where they do case conferencing.
Yeah.
Through.
So if we all get together for case conferencing and talk about the individuals who come up on what's called the by name list, which is a list of prioritized individuals in the area experiencing homelessness.
Which my people might be on already.
They are. Yeah. You should probably come to our case conferencing.
You'd learn a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can you
I know. I know.
Yeah,
I did.
absolutely.
Okay.
Good thinking ahead in terms of what your needs are, and anticipating you got to change this system because it's just too cumbersome.
Yeah, it's not going to keep up with the growth.
Yeah, and given being in the housing section, that might be the great alignment for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Who else has a question? They're ready to roll, Nina.
What did you take away from today?
Be concise.
Yes.
Started yesterday.
That's good.
It's about relationships, not a piece of paper. That's what I heard.
Mm-hmm. We have had the pleasure of talking with a few of our agencies over tiers of not being able to do what they wanted to, and we, I mean, that was a privilege to be able to like try to problem solve.
I can tell you from the outside looking in, you know, I worked with United Way a couple of years ago as an AmeriCorps member, and then I've shifted my whole focus these days. But as an outsider looking in, I see that emphasis on partnership, that emphasis on communication. You know, we had several meetings leading up to preparing for this workshop, and that emphasis and commitment to communicating and being a support and a collaborator, I think is really, really very deeply embedded in the team at United Way.
I would agree. Yes.
It's online, there's no questions.
Oh, okay, thank you. Linda, go ahead.
I've got a couple questions. I'm with the Verde Valley Imagination Library, and we don't have a concrete site. We would be delighted to host you at one of our members' houses. I offer up my house. We can tell you more about the program, and we can also show you a number of the books that are mailed to the children throughout the Verde Valley, if that is sufficient, but we don't have a building per se.
Yeah. Yeah, when that happens, we'll get creative. Either we'll do it virtually or we can do like you suggested.
Yeah, okay, second question. Your slide early on said must only serve Yavapai County. Do you really mean that? Or do you mean what, that you must serve Yavapai County and that's the only area that you're asking for funding for? Because I know our program with the county line where it is, it lapses into Coconino County. I'm guessing maybe some of the others do too. But we would only be requesting funding for the local Yavapai County area. But the slide says must only serve Yavapai County.
No, the funding that you would be requesting from us has to serve Yavapai County. We're not limiting your function as an organization.
Yeah, well, I was pretty sure of that, but always ask if you're not sure.
That's good input. We can reword that for next time.
Thank you.
I don't see any other.
Linda, Allen, and Joan.
Linda, did you have a question? I think they were from when the audio went out.
No.
Okay, thank you. Jean, do you have a question?
Joan Abbey has a question.
Joan Abbey has a question.
Joan, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm representing the Prescott Community Covered Food Bank, and volunteers are very key to our operations. I'm wondering if United Way can help be a conduit for volunteers at other times than the day of action.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yes.
We can, what might be helpful is if you could give us, maybe send one of us or
our admin.
Yeah, or our admin, like a description of like kind of what your needs are. Just so we have an idea as to what the volunteer would be doing. And then I'd have to speak with Hannah, but we might be able to try to promote that or something on social media or insert it in one of our e-communications to get the word out.
That would be great. Our volunteer coordinator has a volunteer job description and that kind of stuff. So I can get that from Bruce and get it sent over to you guys. Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions that I have missed? Looked like Linda was trying to talk, but no, I guess not. Okay, you guys are all good.
We'll circulate an updated flyer for the financing with the correct
The flyer and the link and the PowerPoint.
Yeah. Yes.
So you'll get follow-up from today's meeting as well.
Yeah.
And you will also get a survey on how it went. You can blast us for our message. Technology was we made it through.
Is this where we talk about don't take anything personally?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry, we had some.
Well, I was just gonna say, you're gonna get grace. It's not gonna.
Thank you.
Plummet you.
That's exactly what I said on the chat. Thank you for your grace and patience.
And if everybody can make sure they signed in the back, that's how we're keeping attendance too.
Oh, yes.
If anybody missed the sheet, come see the.
Thank you,
applicants,
Hannah.
so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Something else?
I think we'll go ahead and end this meeting. Early release.
Saved you some time.
If you want to chat, we'll be here for a while. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What software do you use?
We just.
Well, we just bought a CRM.
We just got it.
But it's tracking our
By teams,
zones
people.
and our contact list, which is like 4,000 people.
Must have been YouTube.
They have your program.
Video just kicked
I was
on.
wondering if that.
Yeah, right.
Virtuous.
Okay, I'm not familiar with it, but it should be.
Be able
to.
They knew it. I don't know why they didn't use Zoom.